Thanks, buddy. Good morning, everybody. So we have over 1,500 people that are watching this from around the country. We've got a group in Lansing, Michigan that's watching this. We want to shout out to them. We also have DeKalb, which is around 100,000 students. We're working with them. We're just so thankful. We've also got Kentucky Christian University, their business school. We've got 50 of their students that are watching in right now from all around the country. So I'm sure that I'm leaving some folks out, but it's pretty cool to see what's happening. We're so glad that you're here. Today is a really special day for me. Hi, Ben. It's good to see you, Coach. Many of you know my story and how many years ago I had to rebuild my life. And because of addictive behaviors that I had to clean up and make amends for. And one of the casualties of those days was I lost relationship with my sons for a while. And there was a period of time that I really was not hopeful that those relationships would rekindle. And I had to work on accepting those things. Well, it's amazing what happens when healing begins to take place. And today, we have a new teammate who has joined us. He is my son, Chris Johnson. Chris lives in Phoenix. He was a teacher for many years in the Delta of Arkansas, and then he was a middle school teacher, and he went through this process. And in fact, he had not even been in this building until last year. And was blown away by what we're doing. And so if there is a younger, better looking version of me around here, it's true, he's here. And Chris is going to come and share for about 2 to 3 minutes his story and why he's here and how people can continue to reinvent themselves no matter what. So would you welcome my son, Chris Johnson. Love you, buddy.
Good morning. So my name's Chris Johnson, and I'm not going to talk about all that because I still have more training before I can discuss those things without losing my composure in public. I'm going to talk about the start of my leadership journey. And it started as a middle school history and ELA teacher at KIPP Delta College Preparatory School in Helena, Arkansas. And my first year, particularly the first 5 or 6 months, like most teachers, I don't know how it is in your all's professions, but I was bad. And I wasn't bad in the sense that, like, by the end of my lessons, the kids didn't quite get something I taught because I messed up something. I was bad in the sense that I couldn't get to the end of my lesson because I could not get kids to sit down in their seats. My history lessons were these really inconvenient interruptions to their conversations and trips to the bathroom and things like that. And I knew this was a me problem because at the time, the school I worked at was a phenomenal school. It was a nationally recognized, trajectory-changing school in the Delta where if you went to that school, you were going to go to college, and you were probably going to go to college on a full-ride scholarship. And those same kids that I could not get to sit down and stop talking in my class, the period before mine and the period after mine, these same kids were scholars, and they were diligent. and they were respectful, and they were eloquent. And so I knew, and that's because I worked on a team of giants. And so I knew the product that I was getting, it was a product of me, and it wasn't of them. So because it was an excellent school, those giants around me supported me. And that support came in the form of feedback. Constant, unfiltered feedback. I was constantly told. This wasn't a couple hard conversations. This was a constant cycle where I was told what to stop doing, what I needed to start doing, and then once I started doing those things, how to do them even better. And with that support, I got really good pretty fast. My first year was kind of a wash because even though I was better by the second semester, they had seen me at my worst. I later found out from these kids, because they were so used to this high bar, if your class didn't meet that high bar, there was a spoken consensus among them that your class was going to be the second recess. So by my second year, I bumped down to 5th grade to fill a key vacancy. And the teacher they got was the same teacher that those 7th graders had left, but they had never seen me at my worst. And so we had such success together in 5th grade that they had me roll up with them to 6th, and then to 7th, and then to 8th. And by 7th grade, I mean, the Helena, Arkansas, and the Arkansas Delta is one of the poorest counties and regions in the area, in the whole United States. Only Appalachia and West Virginia compares to it. And my kids, by 7th grade, were beating the state average on their test scores in math, in reading, and in science. They did that in 7th and 8th grade. And those 5th graders that came to me performing at the 25th percentile, by the time we cut the cord finally, and they went off to high school, they were performing in the 75th percentile. And that was because I worked on, that team of giants was a kind team. And that's why I'm so excited that you guys are here today, and I'm so excited about this topic of kind teams, because I would have never scratched my potential if I hadn't been on a kind team. And if they hadn't helped me reach my potential, I wouldn't have helped those kids reach theirs. So I'm really excited for this topic, and thank you for being here.
I'm proud of him. I'm proud of this moment. So Chris, thank you. So today, as Chris has talked about, we're going to talk about this subject, that nice teams are not kind teams. Leadership has radically changed in the last 20 years. As technology has become more and more a part of our society, there is a sociological phenomena that says as people are exposed to more and more information, expectations that people have of others increases. That is why specialization has increased in every professional field. There's also something else that we learned about technology that Alvin Toffler, the great futurist, talked about in his book, Future Shock, when he talked about that one of the unknown implications of introducing technology is that it will expose a large volume of people with infinite amounts of information. And when you give information and ideas to people and you exponentially increase that, it starts increasing the pace of life and the speed of change. As a result of that, there were two major changes in the formula of life as a result of technology. For decades and decades and decades and centuries, change was through addition. It was linear. This changes, and this changes, and this changes, and this changes. It was so predictable. But what technology did is it changed the formula from addition to multiplication. So that for the first time, change now happens exponentially. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Now, you say, what does this have to do with leadership? When you speed up, when people begin to expect more, better, faster, there has to be some major changes in order to make that big jump. And for decades, the way leadership teams worked is that you had a superstar on every team. And what I mean by superstar, that was the leader, and that leader was there because he or she was either the smartest, they were the wisest, they had the most experience, they had the best solutions. And that person was responsible for solving all of the problems and making all of the decisions. And the purpose of everybody around on that team was to serve that leader. He or she was the brains, and everybody else were the gophers. And at that point, it was not cool to give input to that leader. And as a result, you had one leader and 6 or 7 people on the team, and the 6 or 7 people, their job was to keep their mouth shut and what? What was their job? Do what they were told. Make sense? Well, and what that did, when the pace of change was so much slower, you could get away with that. But all of a sudden, now societal expectations have changed, and it's changed in every field. Every field. If you're a parent if you're an educator, you know that parents of students expect more out of you than ever before. If you're a doctor, your patients want to participate in the process more than ever before. In every field, it has changed. People expect more, better, faster. And it used to be, the contract was, you either have quality or you have speed. But you don't get what? What was the understanding in society? You don't get both. And we all understood the unwritten formula that if you want quality, you got to wait for it. If you want Big Mac, you're not going to have to wait for it. If you want filet mignon, you're going to have to wait for it. Today, it is, I want the filet mignon, and I don't want to wait for it, and it better be just as good. That's our society. Well, that is a massive leap that one person on a team cannot bridge. And so you have Cotter, who came along and said, here's the change. The team has to change. It's now all about the team, not about the leader of the team. Make sense? And today, if you're going to bridge that gap, you've got to have more eyes on the problem. You have to have more hands and legs contributing to the situation. You have to have more input into the situation. You have to have more diverse viewpoints so that you have the very best solution. Would you agree with that? And so today, the role of the leader is not to be the magic man or the magic woman. The role of the leader is to create a psychologically safe environment. That when you say to your team, look, we've got a big problem that we have to solve, and we don't have time to gum this thing to death. We need quick solutions, effective. The old mindset that if you have consensus, It's going to take longer to come to a decision. That even is now outdated. Consensus is when a team is leaning in and you are having robust discussion and there is passion and there is tension in the room and there is discomfort. Consensus is not everybody holding hands and saying, we all have to agree. Are we all good with this? That's kumbaya. That is not consensus. Consensus is there is passion in that room. There is discomfort in that room. But people don't check out of the discomfort. Does that make sense? They have learned how to become comfortable being uncomfortable. And in those kind of environments, the role of the leader is to create an environment where the expectation that people will use your voice. World-class teams do not do crickets when they're asked for their input. Make sense? Now, so today, it's not about the one, it's about getting 7 or 8 to perform better and work as a team like never before. Or else you will lose your relevance. Make sense? Now, let's talk about those teams. Today we're going to talk about 2 kinds of teams. We're going to talk about a team that quickly becomes irrelevant, and they're nice teams. We're going to talk about teams that are high-performing teams, that have high morale, that people feel deep commitment to be a part of, and they feel honored to be a part of that team because the standard is so high. Does that make sense? We call that kind teams. How many of us have ever done something embarrassing like what I did one time when I spoke in front of 3,000 people with my zipper down the entire time, with white underwear on, and I was doing this. And out of the 3,000 people, there was only one person who knew that the speaker, who did not know that the speaker was making a fool out of himself. And guess who it was? I thought I was absolutely on fire that day. The energy, the laughter that was going on, I am rocking it out. I am in a zone. Didn't realize that this hick from West Virginia was absolutely making a fool out of himself. I had an entire team there from my team watching it. And not a single one of them was raising their hand going, look. Why did my team not do that? They were nice. Why would you not have done that? Let's talk. Why would you not have done that? Come on, talk to me. No crickets. So you won't have to feel the discomfort. So that you won't have to make that person feel uncomfortable, so you won't be uncomfortable. And yet, that is not kind. What would have been the kindest thing that could have happened to me at that moment? It would have been I was already embarrassing myself. I just didn't know it. But it would have been so much better if they would have done this. I would have found a way to identify with the audience, show them how human I was, make fun of it, watch the audience explode in laughter, and somehow connect with them at a different level. Make sense? Great teams are not nice teams. They are friends to each other in that they sharpen each other all the time. In the old days, there was one person in the team who sharpened other people. Who was it? It was the leader. It was the superstar. Today, you can't be around enough to be able to sharpen your entire team. Whose responsibility on a kind team is it for sideways peer-to-peer accountability to sharpen each other as a team. Whose responsibility is it? Everyone's responsibility. Make sense? Now, you all, I was with an NFL team this year, and I learned a lot about accountability. I learned a lot about meeting a standard. There were two position rooms that had the most amount of drama going on in those two position rooms. And they had the most talent in those position rooms. Those two rooms had generational talent in those rooms. One guy had been an All-Pro for 6 years. Another one who had been an All-Pro for 9 years. And they were problem children. And everybody knew they were problem children. And that team talked about it in those two rooms all the time. But they didn't mention it in the meeting room. They didn't talk to that person. Who did they talk to? Each other all the time as soon as they left the meeting. Were they part of the problem? They were as much a part of the problem as the two narcissists were. There were two other rooms that had the least amount of talent because of injuries that had happened. One was a defensive line room, and the other one was the outside linebackers room. You would walk in, I'll never forget the first day I walked into the defensive line room, and one of the players said to me, "Hey, Dr. Fred, watch this. You are about to walk into a grown man's room." And he said, "What I mean by grown man's room is we have grown men conversation in this room. And we don't get our feelings all hurt. We don't get embarrassed. We have a mission, and we have adult conversations because the mission is so critical." And I would walk in, and I sat in the back of the room. And I saw that coach teach a standard on the film that anytime there was a deviation on one play of this far, they talked about it. They stopped the film. It didn't matter if it was Calais Campbell, who is a giant of a man. It didn't matter who it was. Nobody was off limits. In great, kind teams, nobody is off limits. If you are part of a team that is someone is off limits, they're the sacred cow. You do not have a kind, high-performing team. Would you agree with that? And I was fascinated because he would stop and he would call them by name. Zach, Calais, Benito, Frank. This is not the standard, brother. Look what you did here on the stance. Come on, I need more out of you. It wasn't shaming, it was coaching. It was coaching. Kind teams don't shame each other. They don't look for ways to get gotcha so that I can prove that I'm better or more important than you. Kind teams are constantly coaching each other. They're sharpening each other all the time. And it's to maintain the standard that everybody on the team has agreed upon what the standard is. Make sense? Oh, the other thing that I saw is not only did he coach him hard, he called it, "I love him hard." He praised them hard. At the same time, he would stop the film and he would say, "Bill, fantastic job there." If you're going to have a kind team, you got to coach them hard. You got to coach your teammates hard. When they miss the standard, you've got to have a conversation. but it is a conversation rooted in belief in that person. It is a conversation rooted that you want that person to win by honoring their commitments that they have made. And you're constantly coaching. And you're coaching against an objective standard. At Initiative 1, we have a standard. And I'm constantly asking the team one question. Is that a what experience? Is that a 10 experience? If one of our facilitators is not prepared at the level that our clients deserve, we ask the question, was that a 10 experience? Now, what did we learn from it? What are we going to have to do different? Every single time, in real time. Oh, and the team has agreed upon the standard. And the team has set up what we call trust accelerators. Trust accelerators are if we're going to have that kind of standard of being a kind team, what are we going to agree to? And when we violate the standard, we're going to talk about it. And we promise that we're going to talk about it. I'm not going to get defensive. I'm not going to make it about my mama. We're going to put issues on the table. We're not going to leave it under the table. We're going to be KDR, kind, direct, and respectful when we give that information. We're not going to be toxic nice. Do you know what toxic nice is? Say that? Passive aggressive? What's a nice team look like? We've all been a part of them in meetings. What do they look like? I'm sorry, the Bears. Okay. All right. I don't know what to do with that one. Do you need to go use the bathroom somewhere? There is one about 19 blocks. They're not real. Nice teams are not real. You know they're not talking about the issues, and everybody knows it. And it's shallow. It's shallow. It's not authentic. It's safe conversation. We've all been a part of it, haven't we? Greatness and safety do not go hand in hand. Are you part of a kind team that's leaning in? Or are you part of a nice team that's playing it safe? I want to share very quickly a few things about nice teams and great teams and kind teams. One, I've already said, kind teams love them hard and they coach them hard. Nice teams ignore the issue because they don't want anybody to be offended, especially the one person who needs most to be talked to. Oh, here's a new rule. The old rule used to be you praise in public and you what? You criticize in private. No more. Now, you've got to have trust accelerators in place, because if you don't, it looks like an ambush. But the trust accelerators are a conscious desire of the team to say, hold me to a higher standard. And when I'm behaving this way, I need you. And by the way, I hate the word call out. I hate that phrase. We don't call out people. That's an embarrassment term. That's a shaming term. We show care for another person by having that conversation. And we do it right there in front of the team. Why? It's not just for that person. Who's it for? It's for the entire team to learn from. Make sense? The other thing is, if that teammate has violated a standard, and I don't deal with it there, but I deal with it behind closed doors, who does not know that I dealt with it? everybody else. And what did they misunderstand? What did they think was happening? You're letting that person violate the standard. We talk about the standard, but there goes Fred. He's not doing it. That's why you have to do it in front of the team, as long as it's KDR and it's in line with the trust accelerators that your team has built. We're talking a high standard here. You all, it takes someone very emotionally mature to be part of a kind team. You've got to be very secure in who you are. Because human nature is when someone is reminding me that the youngest person in our team said to me yesterday, "Hey, Fred, did you take care of that one situation? I need to know how you want that handled." And it was a situation that I had already consciously said, I need to talk to Hannah about it. Hannah's our intern, youngest person on the team. And instead of being embarrassed that I did not follow through, kind teams don't do this. What do kind teams do? They do this. If you're not constantly doing this, you're not going to get away when you have a coaching conversation with someone else. And I looked at her and I said, "Hannah, I'm sorry. That was on me. I should have told you, and I didn't tell you. I'm sorry." Now, you all, me saying I'm sorry is a complex thing for me. Because I've had a lot of trauma in my life, and I constantly battle that fraud syndrome of 2.7, that I'm not enough. And so when I say I'm sorry, I'm really saying something far more than just I'm sorry for what I did. What message am I battling? I'm sorry for who I am. Make sense? So for me to say to Hannah, "Hannah, I am sorry," that's on me. Why is it more important that the senior leader of that team, more than anybody else, takes 100% responsibility when we miss the standard? Why is it more important that that person take responsibility for the standard? What happens if he or she gets defensive at that moment? You've blown it for the entire team. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to constantly be talking to yourself when you are being held accountable to do a better job in order to be your best version of yourself. We're talking rigor here. We are talking rigor. And so, one, kind teams love them hard and coach them hard. Nice teams avoid the issue. Another thing that we know about nice team and kind teams is nice teams play it safe. Kind teams have extreme ownership. Kind teams have extreme ownership. I heard I was having dinner the other night with the number 2 leader at the nuclear power plant in down near Two Rivers. And he had gone to Disney University earlier in his career to learn what impeccable leadership looks like. And he said there was a standard that Disney had. And the first fundamental standard that if you wanted to be an executive at Disney, you had to have extreme ownership. And they had a strange way that they were able to measure that. They would watch that executive walk through the park. And if there was a cigarette butt on the floor, on the asphalt, and they watch that person look at the cigarette butt and not pick it up and throw it away. Or if there was a piece of paper that they didn't lean down and pick it up, they were done and not going to be part of the executive management program. Why? Because those actions said a lot about their level of accountability. Their actions said a lot about are they above everybody else? Make sense? Extreme ownership. Our young people on our team are teaching me so much. I shared this with our team yesterday. We have a young man who I worked with last year with the UWGB basketball team. He was the manager, Tyler. And Tyler is a rock star. I saw him last year take initiative all the time, not being told what to do. So Tyler's been here for about 3 weeks. And there was a really important event. I should have said, Tyler, I need you to be there because it's going to be an opportunity for you to learn. I'm doing a national interview with, I forgot who it was back then. And I said, you get to watch that happen in real time. I didn't say that to Tyler. I assumed it. So Tyler did not go and went to another event. And I was ticked. Because I had said to Tyler, when you're young, you're the least experienced person on the team, but you can make up for a lot of that inexperience with passion and grit and an all-in mentality. Do you believe that? So I came in on a Friday and I sat down with Tyler, and I did not want to have the conversation. I did not want to have the conversation because I love Tyler. But I had to have the conversation because I love Tyler. Make sense? And we had a conversation. And you know what Tyler did? He didn't get defensive. He didn't have an excuse. He said, you know, I could have done it different. And now I see that. He embraced it so much. And my trust went up so high for him, far higher than before the original event ever took place. And I have seen him in the 3 weeks since. He has bent over backwards to go the second mile and the third mile. So yesterday we're having a team meeting. And in front of the entire team, I lifted Tyler up. That this is what responsibility looks like. This is what leadership looks like. That he didn't make it about his mama. He didn't pout. He didn't sulk. He didn't go, you know, no one has ever done that to me. Who are you? Have we ever done that? You bet we have. He showed me what leadership looked like. And you know what? That's what kind teams do. Kind teams push hard, they coach hard, but they praise hard. The best way to teach your team a high standard is not when they do it wrong, but when they get it right. And you stop the conversation and you go, see what Tyler just did? See what Tyler just did? That's the standard we all want. That's a kind team. Nice teams let go of the rubber band. Kind teams, in the moment of tension, hold on to the rubber band. I was in Denver last week working with the Cancer Research Institute. They've had a problem with a bunch of their employees being very indifferent, not meeting deadlines, losing trust with some of their research partners. So they brought in a new CEO, and he's wanting to change this. And so they're having their first virtual meeting with him being present. There are 30 people on the screen, and 18 of them were not on video. Black screen. 18 of them. What's that say? That they didn't wash their hair? If that's their excuse, get up earlier and wash your hair. What did it say? Is that rude? It is rude to treat someone like that. To be that's a power game. Because I'm in a position of you're higher and I'm lower because I can't see you and you're in charge of what's going on. And so that CEO said, hey, you all, I need you to turn on your screens. 6 of them didn't turn on their screens. When the CEO said, I need you to all engage. And as he was telling me this story, he was so pumped that 12 of the 18 turned on their screens. I was not pumped. I said, Michael, is that a 10 experience? Is that how you would want those folks to treat your clients? Is that extreme ownership? Is that all in? He goes, no. I said, did you have a conversation with them? He goes, no. I said, do you realize that was a moment that you could have reset an entire culture right there? But Michael, you're a wimp. It's just information. I said, you had the rubber band, and at that moment, you were more concerned about making sure that you made a nice impression upon that team. You were nice, Michael, but you were not kind, and you let go of the rubber band. Don't let go of the rubber band when you're right in the middle of a critical teaching moment. Don't let go of the rubber band when you're being held accountable because you didn't meet a standard and you need to learn. And if you get defensive, you're letting go of the rubber band. Kind teams don't let go of the rubber band. Does that make sense? Tyler is holding me accountable right now by letting me know I've got about 2 minutes left. What goes around comes around, doesn't it? Nice teams dance around the issue. Kind teams go right after it. And if that person gets defensive, nice teams go, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. That's a nice team. What a kind team does? Hey, they did that in that room that I told you about, the defensive line. There was they had brought in someone from the outside that week, his first meeting. And you could see him bristle. The coach didn't do a thing. The players stopped the meeting and said, hey, young buck, literally, hey, young buck, that's not how we do things in this room. We're grown men in this room. We give information and we receive information as a gift. And so we're going to reset this one. If there's someone defensive on your team and you're letting them get away, you are letting them set a whole new standard. Instead, you lean into it and say, you know what, that doesn't go here. As long as we stay within the trust accelerators, that doesn't go here. And your heart is up here in your throat. Don't let go of the rubber band. Is this helpful? Nice teams are not kind teams. Kind teams set the standard. They are rigorous. There are no sacred cows, no exceptions. And it starts with the leader of the team doing this as much, if not more, than everybody else. Nice teams aren't kind teams. I'm going to take a couple minutes. Any comments, questions, observations? Yes, Coach.
Advice for how to practice that within the next week for our team that's here.
You take them out back. You've got to put that on the table. When you walk into the room, you literally say, discomfort is our friend. Discomfort is our friend, and we are going to have adult conversations because you all are up for it. And our mission is too important not to have adult conversations. Make sense? If you can't handle an adult conversation, you don't belong on the team. Yes, ma'am.
Can you speak to the experience when you're a member of the team, not leading the team? If you've identified it as
Great. I've had people say, well, I've got a leader who just has not created a psychologically safe environment. And I'm not going to say anything. That is not leadership. Leadership doesn't wait on someone else to set the environment. When I will go into those meetings in that football room, I know everybody is in the room saying, who is that? What is that old white guy doing in here who's never played football and has a psychology background, which is the mark of death in a football team? I walk into those rooms and I don't feel safe. I know they're going, what the heck is he doing here? I know they're saying that about me. I don't feel safe. Guess what I do? I create my own safety. I say, I belong here. I'm going to be true to who I am. I'm going to stay on purpose. I'm going to lean in. I can't win their trust. That's up to them, but I can be trustworthy. And I'm going to set the standard. And guess what begins to happen? One person begins to mimic it, and then two, and then four. Here's what I tell people. If you've got a leader who has an environment that is opposite of what we've been talking about, it's what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to be a volunteer victim, or are you going to be true to yourself and your convictions? And if that gets you reprimanded and you're doing it in a KDR manner, then you've got a bigger question. Is this the right team for me? Make sense? Take responsibility. Don't wait on someone else to create a kind environment. You start yourself and change yourself first. Is that helpful? Lead, lead, lead. You guys are great. Thank you.